My friend Ismat makes the most delightful lamb and dal curry, and I'm going to share her recipe with you today. So we start off with lots of onions. I've got 3 large onions that I've chopped, and I've just been cooking and stirring them for about 10 to 15 minutes. This part is crucial because it's going to change the colour of the curry and also the flavour. We're going to get a lovely caramelised flavour. So once the onions have cooked down just like this, I'm going to take out about a third of them. This is going to be for the garnish later on. So a couple of spoonfuls of that can go into the bowl, and the rest can stay in the pot as we cook down the rest of the curry. To this, I'm going to add a ginger and garlic paste. So we want about 2 teaspoons of that, which is always very common in Indian and Pakistani cooking. So we're going to add a good amount of that and again toast it off. Okay, now for the spices. With this curry, there are only 3 spices. We'll start with coriander powder, that can go in, along with some turmeric, and you only need about half a teaspoon of turmeric for this, and 2 teaspoons of red chilli powder. Now this is totally up to you how much you like to add. This one's got a little bit of heat to it, so I'm adding 2. Great. Now with ground spices, you don't want to overcook them. If you overcook them or over toast them, they can tend to have that bitter flavour. So I've just got my heat on a medium heat, and you just want to stir them through. By the time you do that and you can smell the fragrance, it's time to add the next ingredient, which is our lamb. So I've got some diced lamb shoulder here. I like to use diced lamb shoulder because it's a little bit fatty and it's great for slow cooking just like this. So in with the lamb, and we'll coat that in all the lovely spices and the onion mix. And with a curry like this, there's no need to sear the meat off and caramelise it. You just want it to start to change colour. So we'll turn the heat up now. I'll also add a good pinch of salt at this stage. 1 and 2. Salt, when I'm making any type of curry, I think is so important. By adding the salt, you're really going to show off the spices. A curry without salt is so bland, even with all those spices. So to almost awaken all those spices, season that. All right, next ingredient. I love this. This is Chana Dal. It's actually a split chickpea, and these fantastic ones are actually grown in Australia. Fantastic for any type of dal, but it's also great in a recipe like this because it's going to thicken this stew. And this recipe in particular is a large portion and it freezes really well. So what you want to start with is dried chana dal, and then you want to place it into a bowl, cover it completely with water, and just like any other pulse, you want to soak it overnight. By doing that, it's going to soften it, which means it'll cook much quicker. So in with our chana dal. Okay, next some tomatoes. 4 tomatoes, I'm using Roma tomatoes. And I prefer fresh tomatoes for a recipe like this as opposed to canned. And I've just diced them. So we'll mix that through. And finally, some water. You need quite a lot of water for this recipe because the chana dal is going to soak it all up. So in with the water. I always like to reserve some water too because I'm going to allow this to cook for a good amount of time. I will check it halfway through. If it looks like it's drying out, just add a little bit more water. This now needs to cook low and slow, so lid on, and this is going to take about 45 minutes to an hour. Keep checking it. You want that meat to be super tender, and you want that chana dal to cook down so they're really, really tender too. Well, this curry is looking fantastic. Now, in the last 5 minutes of cooking, I've removed the lid and I've added some green chillies. Now, I've used long green chillies. They're milder in flavour, so you just get that pop of freshness from the chilli. And I've cooked it for a further 5 minutes. Now, you can see that the meat is tender and the chana dal has cooked down, but still slightly holding its shape. This is such a delicious curry. So I'm going to serve up a portion. I might change the spoon over, something a little bigger. And because it's so hearty and so filling, I actually don't serve this with rice because we do have the chickpeas in this. I actually serve it with some naan. Now, naan is fantastic. These ones are great because they only take 3 minutes to warm up in the oven, or you could also do them in the microwave. And I'm just going to cut them into smaller chunks. That's looking good. And we'll just place them just around the curry. And the whole idea is to grab a piece of naan and scoop up the deliciousness in that bowl. Now, to finish off, don't forget the onions. So we've got those caramelized onions, and this just gives it a pop of sweetness. So over the top with the caramelized onions. And I've got some fresh coriander, a sprig or two of coriander for a pop of colour. And no curry is complete without a little pickle. And my friend Ismat suggests some achaar pickle, which is a garlic style pickle. Fantastic with this. If you can't find achaar pickle, of course, you could use any other type of Indian style pickle or a Pakistani pickle. Guys, this is a fantastic curry. If you haven't tried Chana Dal, give it a go. Add it with the lamb. And like I said, there's lots of leftovers. Pop it in the freezer and you've got dinner just like that.